My sister stole my wedding venue and changed the date to 1 week before mine, and now my entire family is choosing her wedding over mine because she's pregnant. I've been planning for 18 months, and she got engaged 6 weeks ago. My parents just told me to be the bigger person and move my date. Am I wrong for uninviting everyone who RSVP'd yes to our wedding? I, 28F, have been with my fiancé Jake, 30M, for 5 years. We got engaged in April of last year and immediately started planning our wedding. We chose October 14th, 2023, because it was the anniversary of our first date, and we booked this absolutely gorgeous vineyard venue about 90 minutes outside the city. It's a small, family-owned place with rolling hills, a rustic barn, and this incredible sunset view. We put down a $8,000 non-refundable deposit and have been making payments ever since. Total cost is looking like $35,000, which Jake and I are paying for entirely ourselves. My sister Melissa, 25F, has always been, how do I put this delicately, the golden child. She's the youngest. She was a cheerleader. She married her high school sweetheart briefly at 19. That lasted 11 months, and my parents have always dropped everything for her. When she decided to drop out of college halfway through sophomore year to find herself in Thailand for 6 months, my parents funded the entire trip. When I asked for help with my student loans, they told me I needed to learn financial responsibility. I'm not bitter about it anymore, or at least I thought I wasn't until recent events. Melissa got engaged 6 weeks ago to her boyfriend Connor, 26M, who she's been dating for about 8 months. I was genuinely happy for her. Connor seems like a decent guy, and honestly, Melissa seemed more mature and settled than I'd ever seen her. She FaceTimed me the night he proposed, and I squealed and congratulated her and asked her all about how it happened. She said they were thinking of a long engagement, maybe getting married in 2025, and wanted to do it right this time. Fast forward 2 weeks. I'm at my parents' house for Sunday dinner, which is a weekly tradition in our family. Melissa shows up late, typical, with Connor, and she's practically vibrating with excitement. She announces that they've decided to move the wedding up because, surprise, she's pregnant. About 8 weeks along. Everyone starts crying and hugging, and I'm genuinely happy for her. My mom is over the moon about becoming a grandmother. Then Melissa drops the bomb. She wants to get married on October 7th, 1 week before my wedding. At first, I thought she misspoke. I said, "You mean October 7th, 2024? Next year?" And she laughed and said no, October 7th, 2023. This year. 6 weeks away. I try to stay calm. I said, "Melissa, that's literally 1 week before my wedding. We've been planning for 18 months. She got this look on her face, the same look she's had since she was 5 years old when she wants something and knows she's going to get it, and said, "I know, but we can't wait. I want to get married before I'm showing, and Connor's parents are really traditional. We need to do this quickly." I suggested other dates. September weekends. Late October after my wedding. Even November. She shot down every single suggestion. The only date that would work was October 7th because apparently that's when Connor's entire extended family could fly in from Ireland, and they wouldn't come for any other date because they'd already used their vacation time. Then my mother chimed in. "Honey," she said to me, using that soft, placating voice that I've learned to dread, "maybe you could consider moving your date? You and Jake have been together for so long. What's a few more months? But Melissa needs to get married before the baby comes, and it would mean so much to have everyone there." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, "Mom, we have a signed contract. We've paid $8,000 that we won't get back. We have 150 guests who have already booked hotels and flights. Some of Jake's family is coming from Japan. We sent save the dates a year ago." My dad jumped in then. "We'll help you with a lost deposit. But family is family, and your sister needs us right now. You need to be the bigger person here." The bigger person. I've heard that phrase my entire life, and it's always directed at me, never at Melissa. When Melissa borrowed my car without asking and returned it with an empty gas tank and a dent in the bumper, I needed to be the bigger person. When she told my high school boyfriend that I was cheating on him, I wasn't, she was just mad at me. I needed to be the bigger person. When she wore a white dress to my college graduation party, I needed to be the bigger person. I looked at Melissa, and I could see it in her eyes. She knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't about Connor's family, or the baby, or timing. This was about being the center of attention, and my wedding was taking up too much space in the family narrative. I stood up and said, "No, I'm not moving my date. Figure out a different plan." And I left. The calls started immediately. First my mom, crying, saying I was being selfish and couldn't I see that Melissa was in a delicate situation? Then my dad, using his stern, disappointed voice, telling me I was causing unnecessary drama and needed to think about the family. Then Melissa herself, calling me a jealous, self-centered bitch who couldn't stand to see her happy. But here's where it gets worse. So much worse. 3 days later, I got a call from my wedding venue. They were very apologetic, but they needed to talk to me about my booking. My heart sank immediately. The owner explained that they had been contacted by someone claiming to be my sister, saying that there had been a family situation and that the wedding on October 14th needed to be moved to October 7th instead. This person had my booking confirmation number, which I'd stupidly left on the kitchen table at my parents' house during Sunday dinner, and had asked to switch the dates around to accommodate 2 family weddings. The venue owner, being a small family business and trying to be helpful, had agreed to the switch and had offered Melissa the October 14th date instead, my date, since it was already blocked out. Melissa apparently jumped at it and put down her own deposit immediately. I was speechless. Then I was enraged. Then I sat on my kitchen floor and cried for 2 hours. When I finally called the venue back, they were horrified. They'd realized something was wrong when Melissa's style preferences were completely different from everything we'd discussed. But legally, they explained, they now had 2 separate contracts for 2 separate dates. Mine for October 7th, which I never agreed to, and Melissa's for October 14th, my actual date. They felt terrible, but they couldn't force Melissa to give up her contract since she'd paid her deposit in good faith. The only solution they could offer was that I could keep October 7th at my already contracted price, or I could forfeit my deposit and find a new venue. October 14th was no longer available. I called Melissa immediately. She picked up on the first ring, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "Hey, I was just about to call you. So, I know you're probably mad, but I found a solution. I booked your venue for the 14th, so you can just take the 7th and we can have back-to-back weekends. It'll be so fun, like a wedding month for the family." I asked her how she got my booking confirmation number. She said she'd taken a picture of it at Mom and Dad's house because she had a feeling she might need it. She'd been planning this before she even announced the pregnancy to the family. I told her what she did was fraud. She laughed and said, "It's not fraud, it's creative problem-solving. Besides, the venue was happy to help. Maybe if you weren't being so stubborn about this, I wouldn't have had to take matters into my own hands." I hung up and called my mother. Surely my parents would see how insane this was. My mother listened to everything and then said, "Well, it sounds like Melissa found a compromise. You can still get married at your venue, just a week earlier. I don't see what the problem is. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be." I lost it. I told her that Melissa committed fraud, that she stole my wedding date, that this was insane and unacceptable, and I couldn't believe my own mother was defending this. My mom started crying and said I was being cruel to a pregnant woman, that stress is bad for the baby, and that she didn't raise me to be this selfish. Jake was ready to go to war. He wanted to call the venue and threaten legal action, call Melissa and Connor, and tell them exactly what kind of person Melissa was, call my parents and give them a piece of his mind. But I stopped him. Because here's what I realized. Melissa had won this round, but she'd also shown her hand. I called the venue back and confirmed that I would keep the October 7th date. Then I called all my vendors, photographer, caterer, DJ, florist, and explained the situation. Every single one of them was horrified and agreed to switch to the new date. A few of them even offered me discounts because they felt so bad. The photographer specifically said she'd dealt with difficult family members before and completely understood. Then I drafted a message. I sent it to every single person on my guest list. "Dear friends and family, due to circumstances beyond our control, Our wedding date has been moved from October 14th to October 7th. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and completely understand if you are no longer able to attend. Please let us know either way so we can adjust our final head count. Love. My name and Jake. Simple. Factual. No drama, no explanations. Within an hour, I started getting responses. Most people said they could make the new date work. Some of Jake's family from Japan said the date change actually worked better for them. A few people had conflicts and apologized, but it was maybe 10 people out of 150. Then, Melissa sent out her save the dates for October 14th. And this is where I expected people to have to choose. But what I didn't expect was how they would choose. My mother called me absolutely hysterical. You did this on purpose. You moved your date to sabotage Melissa's wedding. Everyone is going to come to yours instead of hers because they already made plans. I said very calmly, I didn't move my date, Mom. Melissa stole my date, so I took the only option the venue gave me. People are making their own choices about which wedding to attend. Family is supposed to come to family weddings. You're the older sister, you should be supporting her. And yet, it seems like more people are choosing to support me. My dad got on the phone then. He was using his I'm not angry, I'm disappointed voice, which somehow feels worse. We raised you better than this. Your sister is pregnant and trying to start her life with Connor, and you're ruining it because you couldn't be flexible. Dad, she committed fraud to steal my wedding date. That's not me being inflexible. That's me setting a boundary. It's not fraud, it's a misunderstanding. And now you need to fix this. You need to tell people to come to Melissa's wedding instead. No. And I hung up. Over the next week, the RSVPs came in. Out of 150 guests invited to my wedding, 127 said they could make the new date. Most of my and Jake's friends, Jake's entire family, my aunts and uncles on my dad's side, my grandmother, my dad's mom, and about half of my extended family on my mom's side. Melissa's guest list, from what I heard through the grapevine, was looking sparse. She'd invited about 100 people and maybe 30 had RSVP'd yes. Most people had already made plans for my wedding and couldn't or wouldn't change them. Connor's family from Ireland had apparently already booked their flights for the dates surrounding October 14th and were annoyed at having to change everything last minute. Some of them weren't coming at all now. My mother called me every single day, begging me to do something. Tell people they should come to Melissa's wedding. Tell them yours can be just a small thing. Tell them you'll have a reception later. Please, your sister is devastated. Each time I said, no. People are making their own choices. Then the family pressure campaign started. My Aunt Susan posted on Facebook about the importance of family unity and how some people need to remember that blood is thicker than water. That's not even the real quote, by the way. The full saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning chosen relationships are stronger than family, but I digress. My cousin Brad called me and said I should be ashamed of myself for not supporting my sister's pregnancy and that I was setting a bad example for the family. Brad, by the way, who had an affair with his secretary and left his wife and 3 kids, was lecturing me about family values. My Uncle Mike said I should postpone my wedding entirely until next year so that Melissa could have her moment. Uncle Mike, who borrowed $5,000 from my parents 10 years ago and never paid it back. It was like watching a masterclass in enabling behavior and scapegoating. Every person who called me to guilt trip me was someone who had either enabled Melissa's behavior for years or directly benefited from my parents' generosity and didn't want to lose that gravy train. But here's the thing, for every person who called to guilt trip me, 2 people called to support me. My best friend Amy said she'd always thought Melissa was a piece of work, but hadn't wanted to say anything. Jake's sister said what Melissa did was psychotic and she'd never seen anything like it. My grandmother, my dad's mother, called me and said, "Your grandfather and I are coming to your wedding, sweetheart. What your sister did was wrong, and your parents are being foolish. We'll see you on October 7th. That call made me cry more than anything else in this whole mess. Then, about 3 weeks before the weddings, Melissa called me. She was crying, really crying, not the manipulative crying she usually does. "Please," she said, "please just tell people to come to my wedding. I know what I did was wrong, okay? I know. But I'm scared. What if nobody comes? What if Connor's family thinks I'm some kind of loser with no family support? I'm pregnant and alone, and I just wanted one day to be about me." For a moment, I felt bad. I really did. But then I remembered the smile in her voice when she told me she'd solved the problem. I remember her calling me a jealous, self-centered bitch. I remembered every time I'd been asked to be the bigger person while she faced zero consequences. I said, "Melissa, you're not alone because of me. You're alone because of the choices you made. You had every opportunity to choose a different date, but you wanted my date specifically because you couldn't stand me having something you didn't have. You committed fraud, you lied to our family about what you did, and you expected me to just roll over and take it like I always have. I'm done being the bigger person. I'm done shrinking myself so you can shine brighter. I hope your wedding is beautiful, I really do. But I'm not going to sacrifice my wedding to make yours better." She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, very quietly, "I'm sorry." It was the first time in my life I'd ever heard her apologize and mean it. But it was also too late. "I know," I said. "But sorry doesn't give me back the 18 months of planning, the stress you caused, or the family relationships you damaged. Maybe this is the consequence you needed to finally learn that your actions affect other people." I hung up. My parents stopped speaking to me entirely after that. They told me I was no longer welcome at Sunday dinners and that I was out of the family until I made this right. My dad even said they weren't coming to my wedding. That hurt. I won't lie. Having your parents choose your sibling over you in such an obvious, blatant way, it's like a knife to the chest. But Jake held me while I cried and reminded me that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who show up for you, who support you, who celebrate your joy instead of trying to dim it. Last week, 1 week before my wedding as I'm typing this, I found out from my grandmother that my parents took out a loan to help pay for Melissa's wedding. They're trying to upgrade everything, the venue, a country club, since she couldn't get a picturesque vineyard on such short notice, the food, the flowers to make it Instagram perfect so that Melissa won't be embarrassed by the low attendance. My grandmother also told me that there's been tension between Melissa and Connor. Apparently, Connor is furious about the whole situation. He didn't know Melissa had stolen my date until after the fact, and he's been appalled by my parents' behavior. His family is also less than thrilled about being dragged into what they're calling some weird American family drama. There are rumors that they might not even make it to the altar, but who knows? As for me, I'm getting married in 6 days. We have 127 guests confirmed, a beautiful venue, an amazing photographer, and most importantly, a partner who has stood by me through all of this chaos. My grandmother is walking me down the aisle since my dad refuses to come. Jake's father offered to do it, which made me cry, but I told him that having my grandmother do it felt right. She's the family member who has always seen me clearly and loved me anyway. I've also made a decision. Everyone who RSVP'd yes to Melissa's wedding is uninvited from mine. I don't care if they claim they were going to try to make both. I don't care if they have excuses. If they chose to support someone who committed fraud and caused me immense stress during what should have been a happy time, then they don't get to celebrate with me. This includes my parents, obviously, but also my Aunt Susan, my cousin Brad, my Uncle Mike, and about 15 other extended family members. I sent a polite email explaining that due to space constraints and unfortunate circumstances, their invitations were being rescinded, and we wished them well. The fallout has been nuclear. My mother called me from my Aunt Susan's phone. I'd blocked my parents by then, and screamed at me for 10 minutes about what an ungrateful, vindictive, cruel person I'd become. She said I'd ruined Melissa's life, ruined the family, and ruined any chance of reconciliation. She said I'd regret this for the rest of my life. Maybe I will. Maybe in 10 years, I'll look back on this and wish I'd handled it differently. But right now, standing on the edge of my wedding, I feel lighter than I have in years. I feel like I finally drew a line in the sand and said, no more. So Reddit, am I wrong? Am I the asshole for uninviting everyone who chose to support my sister's fraud over my legitimate wedding? Should I have been the bigger person one more time? I don't know. But what I do know is that on October 7th, I'm marrying the love of my life surrounded by people who genuinely love and support us. And that's enough. Update. I'm adding this update because the wedding happened and wow.
Just wow.
First, my wedding was absolutely perfect. The weather cooperated, the venue was stunning, and having my grandmother walk me down the aisle was one of the most meaningful moments of my life. She told me right before we walked out, "Your grandfather would be so proud of the woman you've become. You're strong, sweetheart. Never apologize for that." We had 127 guests who danced, laughed, and celebrated with us. Jake's best man gave a speech about how he's never seen two people more perfect for each other, and my best friend Amy gave a speech that had everyone crying and laughing at the same time. No drama, no stress, just pure joy. But Melissa's wedding the following week? According to my grandmother, who didn't attend either wedding because she made her stance clear, it was a disaster. Only 23 people showed up out of 100 invited. Connor's family from Ireland didn't come. They were apparently so put off by the whole situation that they sent a gift and their regrets. Most of the guests were Connor's local friends and my parents' immediate friend circle who felt obligated to attend. The country club venue looked empty with so few people. My parents apparently spent over $40,000 trying to make everything look perfect, but you can't make a party feel full when there's nobody there. Melissa spent the whole reception crying, not happy tears, but genuine, devastated tears. But here's the kicker. Connor called off the wedding during the reception. In front of everyone. Apparently, the stress of the whole situation, combined with some things he'd learned about Melissa's past behavior, my grandmother may have had a conversation with Connor's mother, made him realize he was making a huge mistake. He told Melissa in front of their remaining guests that he couldn't marry someone who would treat family the way she treated me, and that he needed time to figure out if they had a future at all. Melissa is back living with my parents. Connor moved out of their shared apartment. The wedding was never legally finalized, so at least there's no divorce to deal with, but Melissa is pregnant and alone and, from what I hear, finally facing real consequences for her actions. My parents blame me, of course. They've told the entire family that I ruined Melissa's life and caused her trauma that could affect the baby. Some of the family members who went to Melissa's wedding have reached out to apologize, but I'm not ready to forgive yet. Maybe someday, but not now. Jake and I are happy. We're on our honeymoon as I type this final update. Life is good. And I have no regrets.